Hello, everyone, and welcome to Those Forking Fangirls, where we talk all things nerdy book, TV, movie, pop culture, fandoms, and how they integrate into our adult lives. I'm Natasha.
And I'm Christine.
And today we're going to be discussing the Gilmore Girls. Oh my gosh, and all their fast-talking, quick-witted, and romantic roller coaster glory. Coffee, 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 coffee.
And today we have a special guest, one of our Team Polis Bananas listeners. Shots, can you give us a little introduction to you, what you do, where you're from, who you are, your favorite fandoms, all of the jazz, all of the things.
Okay. Hi, I'm Shots. It's short for Shot the Bishop, but no one really calls me that. I'm a software engineer. I grew up mostly in India, but now I live in the San Francisco area. And my favorite fandoms are Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, The Hunger Games, everything that you guys talk about on this podcast, basically.
All the good stuff. All right. Well, so today we're really excited to have Shots on. If you don't know, she is one of our patrons, and one of our really cool perks for the Team Polis Bananas tier is being a guest on the show. We're so excited to talk all things deep dive Gilmore Girls. But before we do, we're going to roll on into some Snap Crackle pop culture news. Now, there has been so much Taylor Swift news. It's just like there's way too much to even go into. So we're gonna hit some highlights here. She just broke the record for most streamed artists this year on Spotify, surpassing Bad Bunny, which is unheard of.
Yay!
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. And she has been out on the town in New York City with Travis Kelce. There have been so many paparazzi photos every night. I'm just like having a party, texting Natasha all different tweets and memes.
It happens so late at night every time.
Yes.
Like she went out with
Saturday
him.
Night Live.
Yeah, she went out with him on Saturday night, and then out with him on Sunday night after Jason played against the Jets.
Jason, his brother,
Jason Kelce. We all should know those Kelces now.
Well, no, some people don't. Some people are just hearing through the grapevines here.
I know.
But there's so many videos of them walking to the car, and Jason is so tall that even in her heels, he's still
Travis.
like significantly taller. Oh my God, I just said Jason. Travis is so much taller that even in her heels, Taylor, like, there's still a height difference. Like, they're not the same height. And he's like a bodyguard as she's going into the car, you know? And he's like grabbing her waist. And like, there's this one shot from that first night where she's wearing the jacket where he's like in front of the door, like blocking the entrance. And you see her hand reach out and yank him into the car with her.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And there's like, they come out and her lipstick is smeared and you can see remnants on his face. Like, they are full on officially in the public as a couple.
It's also kind of weird just because she hasn't been so public with someone in so long.
Yeah.
But it's great. I love it.
I love it because she's just living her life. And for so long, she's been afraid to do anything because she doesn't want to mess up her relationship, and to feel like freed of that potential fear is really must be a huge burden off her shoulders to just like do things instead of hiding away from everyone constantly. So any other thoughts on this, y'all?
I mean, I still have so many thoughts. I'm just very excited.
Spill some.
Okay, wait. I talked about this with Christine privately, obviously. But they have been having their fingers interlocked, okay? This was pointed out on T Swift Twitter, but if you look at pictures of her and Joe, they have like their palms together and like a bear claw, like a claw.
Yeah.
That's how they're interlocked.
there's two ways to hold hands here. So your hands intertwined and the interlocked cupped. Now, like the cupped hands is what like 5-year-olds do, and also what athletes do when you're doing different like stunt work where you have to hold hands and stuff. And that's how Taylor and Joe always held hands, apparently, in pictures. But Travis Kelce has a grip on Taylor with two hands, always intertwined. And Natasha sent me this like video of like the comparison pictures.
Are you watching those like body language analysis?
Always.
Not are you? Maybe on TikTok. I haven't been on TikTok. My primary news source is Twitter.
I did see a
I did
TikTok
both.
of someone that gave Travis Kelce a friendship bracelet that said "on the map," and he
Yes.
does like a little fist bump. It's very
I saw
cute.
that too. Yeah,
Someone
it's all
said-
been
oh.
adorable.
Lillian
ahead.
says, of course, those forking fangirls would discuss fork versus spoon hand holding.
It's just making me so giddy for her because there was in all of her music you can hear the stress of any of her relationship with Joe being public because he didn't want anything to be out there. He wanted everything to be just theirs in private, and she started to obviously feel the burden of that because it's so hard for her to do anything and it not be photographed and plastered everywhere because she's so big in the world and the pop culture zeitgeist. Everyone wants to know. So, you know, like This Is Me Trying and Peace and all of this stress. Even so in Lavender Haze, she talks about how he can handle it just fine, but he can't handle it just fine. I think she was kidding herself. And that's like another thing that led to the downfall of their relationship, the pressure on her to stay enclosed all the time. But anyway, that's our big Taylor Swift movie. That's our big Taylor Swift news this week. Also, the movie has been nominated via special exception for a Critics' Choice Award for a concert movie. So that's cool because Variety had reported that it's not eligible for the Oscars, but it is eligible for some other awards. So that's cool. All right. Moving on, Britney Spears' new book, The Woman in Me, comes out next week. Are y'all planning to read it? Because a big tidbit dropped today from People magazine. Yeah. So what dropped was that when Britney was dating Justin, she got pregnant. And Justin was like, we're too young to have a kid. I'm not ready to be a father. I don't want to have this baby. And so she got an abortion. And she said it's the most agonizing thing she's ever experienced in her life. And, you know, Britney, from what we've heard in interviews, all she's ever wanted are kids, it sounds like. She really, really wants to have a big family. And then she ended up having kids with Kevin Federline a few years later. But it's really sad knowing that everyone thought her Every Time music video was about struggling through the breakup with Justin, but now it really feels like it was about struggling and trying to process what had happened with her pregnancy and the abortion. So that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And there's a video of her like singing Every Time that's going around where she's like holding her stomach a lot, like touching her stomach, which is really sad. So and she's been holding on to that secret for so long. And I bet like she really didn't share much about her personal life. Like we only got the pop pictures, you know, the pop pictures. So this book might reveal a lot of stuff. I'm really interested to hear what she has to say. I know it's probably ghostwritten, but we also know that she dictated the stories that the ghostwriter organized into a book. So I think I'm going to get the audiobook. What about y'all? Gonna read it or just look at the highlights online?
I just look at that. I never read anything like that, and like unless I'm really led to, and I really never have done that before. So, Christine, you can tell me the highlights.
I will tell you the highlights. Don't worry.
Thanks.
Yeah, probably same.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I feel so connected to Britney because she was such an icon when I was like 8 years old. She was an amazing dancer. I loved all her songs. So it's still heartbreaking to me to see like what she's gone through, and I want so badly to understand it because it's so confusing. Like her posts on Instagram just seem very confusing to me. Like she doesn't seem at all like the person that she was in interviews before. And I know she's been really traumatized and messed up by everything that's happened to her, but I want to hear like her side of it. So I will be reading it. I will report back. Amy says that she likes memoirs on audio because they're usually read by the author. I highly doubt that she's going to read it though, because I don't know if you've heard her voice recently, but it sounds very damaged. I think her vocal cords were severely damaged by the way that they wanted her to sing all sexy and like high pitched when she was younger, because now it sounds very rusty when she talks. So I'm thinking she'll probably have an actress do it. I can only imagine hearing her talk with that raspy voice for so long would be like hard. I'd be like, stop, you're gonna hurt your voice. It's already
Katie
messed.
says that she thinks Michelle Williams was doing it.
That would be cool. Yeah, I hope someone else does it, honestly, because when I hear her talk now, I'm like sad for her because it sounds really rusted. All right. Other news. Natasha, you have anything you want to share this week?
No, ma'am. You've got 7 things on this list. You can pick one
All right.
more.
Well, I could have taken one off. Okay. So other news, Cassandra Clare's new book, Swordcatcher, is out. So if y'all didn't know, Cassie is her first adult fantasy book. It came out last week. I've started it. And it's a very promising start. I haven't gotten too far because I had to read Percy Jackson, but I'm going to go back to it. I'm super excited. It's getting rave reviews, and I'm not surprised because it's Cassandra Clare, and I expected nothing less, and I knew it would be amazing. She's been working on it for a very long time, and I am pumped. And our last bit of news today is there's this book that's called Attached at the Hip that is coming out May 21st, 2024. And I wrote it, and it's available for pre-order now.
Woo!
It is a Survivor-esque rom-com, and the lead character is 23. She is like fresh out of college, trying to figure out like her career, and she ends up on this reality show where she's attached via 8 feet of rope to her high school crush that nothing ever panned out with, and now they're attached on an island, forced to live in nature together and compete together for $1 million. That's a fun time. So yes. I'm going to leave the link to pre-order in the show notes. If you're interested in reading it or want to support my author career, I'd really appreciate you pre-ordering. It's like super, super important, as my publisher keeps reminding me to pre-order. And also, I mean, if you can't afford to pre-order, or if you use Goodreads, it's really helpful to add it to your TBR on Goodreads. And I'll leave a link to do that. That's really easy and it's free. And yeah, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. All right. Yay. We're going to roll. I think we're going to roll right into our main discussion, and then we'll go back to What Right Now if we have time at the end, because I want to have time to talk all things Gilmore Girls.
Me too.
Okay. Yes. All right. Before we go into the main discussion, though, we got to take a second to thank the listeners. Natasha, can you thank the listeners today?
Oh, yes. Okay, everyone. So we thank you guys so much for your support, and we truly love each and every person who has put time into following, sharing, listening. So make sure you are following the podcast on your favorite podcast listening app, and you can subscribe for free on our YouTube channel. Hi to everyone there. We also love it if you could like and comment there. We love talking with you guys and hearing your opinions on whatever we discuss. So like, you know, if you have an opinion about Gilmore Girls today, like leave it in the comments below. Also really helps word of mouth. So tell a friend about a podcast, especially if they're a big Gilmore Girls fan, like let them know about this episode. And you can also leave a review on your favorite podcast listening app, usually on Apple Music, and then you can rate us on Spotify. And then if you want to support the show in a bigger way, we do have a Patreon. And of course, Shots right here is a part of our Polis Bananas tier, which is our $15 tier. And that is the tier that we have the option to come on the show. We also have our monthly Zoom hangouts, and we love that time. We also just love everyone on our Patreon. We have a $5 tier and a $10 tier, which gets you the most important thing, which is our Fangirl Tea Time, which is our 30-minute segment at the end of every episode. And any way you guys support us, we appreciate it and we love you. And there's a ton of great perks, so check it out. Link is in the show notes.
Yes,
They
we're
do
so
a great
grateful.
job with the Patreon. It's like fully recommended.
Thank you.
Sean, how long
Thank
have you
so
been?
much.
How long have you been
She's
a
been
patron?
She's been a patron for a while. She's amazing.
Since like this year, not yeah. I think I missed it last year.
It's fine. Let's hold on. I'm just tangled up in my fucking wire.
We started this month last year, so you didn't really miss much. But yeah, it's been almost a year then. Exciting.
We are so grateful for everyone in our Patreon community, and yeah, like Natasha said, if you the $5 level is where we have our extra show after every single episode, and we now have 46 extra shows that lots of extra content ready to rock if you become a patron. All right, let's roll in to our main discussion.
Wait, I'll do the song.
Do it.
Wait, but you don't have it. Are you gonna sing it?
La 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 la. That was probably very not on
Beautiful.
time with everyone.
We tried.
Where you lead, we will follow.
Where you lead,
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
follow.
Every day. I don't know the words now. I'm on the spot.
Everywhere that you tell me to,
Tell me
if you
to.
need,
If you
me to
need
be
me.
with you, I
I've
will
heard it.
follow. Hey, 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 hey. Okay, I will stop.
All right. Okay. So we all have come with our top 4 episodes. It was so hard to pick 4 episodes, but I want to kick things off talking about like why we think Gilmore Girls is so rewatchable. Like, why is it such a comfort watch? Why do we never get bored? And I know for me, it's the amount of dialogue, the amount of fabulous dialogue that's packed into every episode, like the amount of references, the amount of talking, like you can't possibly remember all the jokes. So every time you watch it, it feels fresh again. Like I've listened to Lauren Graham talking about how there's 80 pages and of dialogue that are smushed into a 43-minute episode. If you don't know, it's usually like a minute per page. So that would typically be an 80-minute show. But they're talking so fast and it's so quick, the back and forth, the bantering. It's fittable into a 43-minute episode that's unheard of and that's amazing. And also, something that makes it really cozy, in my opinion, is the score. It's sung. It's all those la 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 la's, and like there's like also the butta. I can't think of the other theme with the butta buzz right now because we just sang the la la la's.
I know.
But there's that, and the characters are so deeply flawed that you always kind of find something new to think about with their struggles and some new angle on it. What about y'all? What do you think?
Shots, do you have thoughts?
I agree with everything you said, but I also think like for me, something that I really like is the side plots. They're just so random and weird. Like when Jackson and Suki like accidentally started a weed farm, that always makes me laugh. Like, and they're like, it's just I don't know how they come up with a bunch of this stuff. I'm just imagining like Amy and Dan like discussing it. It's also like fun to think about. And it's just like it's
fun,
kooky enough to seem like a fictional town, but also like real enough to be like you could probably live there, and that's like seems very comforting to me.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that episode with the egg always comes to mind, where like they can't find the rotten eggs. Like it's just so random, the shit that they put in the background.
Obviously I agree with all that. I was gonna add that the setting is so cozy. There's so many cozy aspects of Gilmore Girls that kind of you feel like it's like a warm hug, but it also keeps you on your toes. Like Christine said, you don't necessarily remember everything that happens, and you as you age, because I think, you know, I don't know if we didn't watch this when it aired. We were very young, and so many of us have discovered it when it became popular on streaming services. And as we age, because I think I watched it back in 2014, 2015, something like that. Yeah. And then, you know, watching it again now, almost, you know, 8-9 years later, there's portions of Lorelai that I understand now, or portions of Emily that like I totally get, or I get annoyed with, and there's just it meets you at your very different stages of life, and it's so grounded. And yes, it does feel a little bit. It feels like it's stuck in the 2000s, but it still doesn't. It still feels like it transcends that time, and it comes with you and into the future. And some of the pop culture references are still funny, and I still understand them to this day.
I find them so fascinating now because I understand more of them than I did when I first watched it. Because again, I was younger and I just didn't know about as many things. It was on, like I could have watched it because I think it started in 2002 or 2003. So I was like 12 or 11. But I didn't know about it. So I missed all of it. And I don't think I would have understood most of the references because most of them are older. Like they're like Lorelai references from the 80s and the 70s and such. And old movie references, you know. But whenever there's like a random political reference, I just find it so funny because it's still so relevant.
And I was watching an episode and she's talking about Jimmy Carter, and I was like, okay, I think I know this reference because my mother would tell me a lot about this.
There was they just dissed Trump in this most recent episode, like randomly, and like they, you know, she like idolizes Hillary.
Oh yeah,
in a lot of episodes, Rory, and there's just so many random references that I was like, wow, this became very relevant later in the game. So
they also do the filler episodes very well, because you know back then in network
you had to have
TV,
24 episodes.
You had to add some episodes that didn't necessarily, you know, move the plot along, but it was very entertaining for audiences. And like some of those are our favorites because they're just so random, or they feel, you know, like fall, or they feel, you know, just so different and fun. And
yeah, they have like the cozy seasonal feel, just the way that the ambiance is so present. It's a character. Like what I smell snow, like the coziness that comes with the snow episode. Like I just watched the one with Max Medina when he gets stuck in the snowstorm in Stars Hollow, and like Lorelai's just walking around, and they spend so much time outside that it really adds to the feel.
Stars Hollow is definitely like a big part of the show. Like it's not just a setting; it's like one
it's
of the
a character
too.
It's almost a main character. It is a main character of the town.
Also the side characters.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they are a big part. So let's get into, because I'm sure this will spawn other conversations here. Let's start going through our top episodes here. So one of my favorites is Love, Daisies, and Troubadours, and this is the season 1 finale, which I didn't realize when I was watching because I was just like trying so hard to get to season 2, and I was just in it suddenly. I was like, wait a minute. But so Love, Daisies, and Troubadours opens up where Luke is now back with like his ex-girlfriend Rachel. You know, she's the photographer, and she comes back, and they've been back together for a couple episodes. And it opens up with like this loud banging outside, and Lorelai goes out like half asleep, and Luke is just out there fixing the front porch for no apparent reason. And they exchange some of their banter, and Rory comes to the front door, and she's like, Luke is right here, and Luke has like disappeared like Batman. And she's like, he was here, I'm not crazy, he was fixing a thing. Like, it starts off so strong. The Luke and Lorelai banter is prime. And the whole episode, like, Lorelai will randomly go outside to like ask questions, and Luke is just like on the roof fixing something, or he's like broken into the house to fix something because he's like avoiding breaking up with Rachel, or avoiding like talking to Rachel because it's not going like he planned. And then in this episode, she goes out with Max, and Luke has left like his toolbox, and this is when she names it Bert, and they have like kind of like a pissing contest in front of her, Max and Luke. It's so good.
Is this when he says?
It's just.
Is this when he says like I have been there and I will always be there? Is that
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it so much. And yeah, I just had so much fun watching that pissing contest. I was like, Luke just doesn't back down, and it's really, I just found it really attractive in the scene, even though it was like obnoxious almost. But yeah, I think this is like a good, like, I wanted to talk about Max. Like,
Yeah.
what did you guys think
The
of
first.
her relationship with Max? It goes really fast.
It does. It's just, I think it's a good relationship to show how
She's not used to like dating around Rory.
yeah, because I just got to the point where Rory goes to college, and that's when she starts being like, oh, Rory's not my entire world anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like she's
And if-
put Rory first, her for the
Yes.
all 18 years. And it's the
Yes.
first time where like she is, hit in the face with, all right, this commitment with someone, and she doesn't necessarily have the like, she had a child at what, 16, 17, and kind of just grew up
16.
with Rory, and
Yeah.
and finally like she's faced with a huge big adult life decision, and she's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, like, I literally am Lorelai's age now. Like, she's 32, and I just turned 33, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, can I imagine having a 16-year-old daughter right now? No. Like, I absolutely cannot. And she's gone through so much like regular adult growth at the same time as she was like trying to raise a child, and she was doing it by herself. So I feel so much for her, so much more when she like freaks out about dating Max and how she's getting attached, like how Rory's getting attached, and Rory's like, why don't we invite Max to come out? And she's like, whoa. Because she doesn't know in that moment if she loves him, and she doesn't think she's going to. And so she's like, just wants to cancel the relationship. And that's ultimately like her gut in that moment is right, because she tries to give him another chance because she misses him. And there's like, they have a nice relationship, but it's not like that love, like drop everything, all I think about, all consuming love. And she ends up running away from it. I feel like she kind of peer pressured herself into getting married, like, because she liked the idea of it, but she wasn't ultimately in love with him.
Yeah, I think she thought like that would be the right thing to do because they were
Yeah.
in like a stable enough relationship
Yeah.
that getting married would be the reasonable next step. And then at her engagement party or bachelorette party, I think
Yes,
she
Bachelorette.
realizes that that's not the move
Yeah,
for her.
Emily has this beautiful speech about like the week before her wedding and how excited she was. And everyone goes to call their loved one, and Lorelai calls Christopher. So
Nicole says that Max pushed Lorelai to go way too fast, and he definitely proposed because of Luke.
yes. yes, they were fighting, and he was like, we should just get married. And then she was like, no. That's not how an engagement goes. And then the next day he sends her like all the romantic daisies and shit, and kind of the grand gesture and the how good of a person Max is kind of like love bombs her in the moment, I think. And she gets swept up in it. But I don't think I would have ever, like, do we think she called Max when she called off the wedding? Because she just like left to go to Harvard with Rory.
I can see her leave a voicemail. That seems very Lorelai.
Yeah, that does seem very Lorelai. Like, I don't like that we didn't get to like see her even dial him, because it felt like she just left without telling him that they weren't going to get
very
married.
icky.
Yeah, it kind of hurt me. I was like, dude, you gotta let him know. At least shoot him a text. Nicole said, or we could forget that he exists. We really do kind of forget that he exists very soon after, I feel like. It's just like, well, Luke's here.
Yep. He does come back in season 3. I just watched the episode. He came back in, and they kind of like talked, and that kind of got
worked through it a little bit. Yeah. Closure. All right. Give me one of your favorite episode shots.
Are we still trying to go in order?
Why don't we?
Do you have one? What?
I have one in season 2.
Yeah, go for it.
It's season 2, episode 13. It's called A Tisket, A Tasket. It's the one where they do the Stars Hollow event of like basket selling, buying. I forget. It's for a cause.
It's for something.
But the women of the town make baskets, and men bid on it, and then the person that wins the basket auction gets lunch, or gets a lunch with the person that made the basket. And there's a lot of like sweet like coupley moments in it. Like, it's the one where Luke and Lorelai like finally have some alone time. Like it's basically a date. It's as much as we were gonna get in that season.
Like, wait,
Rory and Jess. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. This only happened with Jess. What happens with Jess?
Dean and Jess are bidding on Rory's basket, and Jess wins. So he kind of like forcibly has some time alone with her, and Rory goes still. She doesn't have like any problems with that.
She's upset though about it, right?
She's upset for like 2 minutes, and then she's like, okay.
Because there's a definite chemistry with Jess.
I think for me, at least, that was like when I was like, okay, this is going to be a thing.
The second he rolled up, I was like, oh shit, new love interest. And I love him already because I was already a huge Heroes fan.
I was annoyed by Jess the first time I watched it. And because now that I rewatched it now for a third time, it's half of the relationship is when she's with Dean, and it's quite like they don't have time. And I guess we can get into that later, but yeah, I didn't realize like most of like the cute stuff happened when she was still with Dean, and that's kind of annoying.
I love every second of their exchanges. Okay, so we already know that I was in love with Peter Petrelli. If you don't know from Heroes, I was absolutely in love with Peter Petrelli, and that was Milo Ventimiglia. So I watched this in 2014. The second he steps on screen, I was like, shit, man, he's gonna be Rory's love interest. This is amazing. And he's a total punk asshole a lot of the time, and I absolutely don't give any shits. I'm like obsessed with him, and I now rewatching it, I just got to the Jess part, and I could tell you exactly when I like fell head over heels for Jess. When like the first episode I think he's around, Lorelai and Rory have them over for dinner, and he's a total asshole punk. But in her room, he like looks at the books and he pulls one out, and she's like, oh, you could borrow that. And he was like, no thanks. And she's like, do you read much? And he was like, nah. Or he just like shrugs. I think he says nah. And then at the end of the episode, he does like weird magic tricks in front of her. Like he catches her walking in the square, and he pulls out the book, and she was like, oh, I told you didn't have to buy that. I let you borrow it. And he was like, this is your book. He's like, you stole my book. And he goes, I just wanted to put some stuff in the margins for you. And she looks at it and she's like, you've read this before. And he goes, yeah, like 6 times. And she's like, I thought you said you didn't read much. And he's like, define much. I was like, oh my God, this is so sexy. This
You
is
just want like a
everything.
mysterious reader boy.
A book boy. A hot book boy? What?
He's not okay. Katie says he's very Will Herondale, and I do not agree because Will is funny.
Yeah, well, Jess is funny, but in a mean way.
Yeah. I think reading this character, I would have loved him. Seeing it on TV, I just despise Jess. I like him now.
Yeah, when he like comes back in season 6, I'm like, yeah, he's great. But
Yeah, well, the thing is, he has a beautiful arc, and we just
that
like
we
didn't
don't
get to see it
see.
completed. Well, he's at like his cresting point where he's like becoming much better person by the last time we see him. Like he's become much more mature, but we don't get to like see it happen because they were going to give him a spinoff show and it didn't work out or something because of Heroes. So that was a mad bummer, yo. I really think we need another installment of the Gilmore Girls just so we can see him and Rory finally like realize that they're soulmates.
Yes. Makes
But
the
Milo
most
does
sense.
not want to do it.
He doesn't?
He thinks that they should let it lie. Yeah.
No.
I know. Well, it's all because the first installment, like the reboot, didn't get good reviews because there's too much silliness that they put in those episodes. Like there's a lot of good stuff, but like there's also a lot of silliness. Like that's stupid. Okay, we'll get to the reboot, but
Okay. I don't remember a lot of it.
let's
so
move
I'll
on.
finish it.
All right.
Okay.
But anyway,
I have-
Atiska Natasha is a fabulous episode.
oh, it's also the one where Suki and Jackson get engaged, and that's also very sweet.
Yes! Oh my gosh. It's a beautiful episode. I can't wait to get to it in my rewatch. I'm in the beginning of season 2. Natasha, do you have any
Okay.
season 2?
So I have a season 2, and it's season 2, episode 7. It's Like Mother, Like Daughter. And this is the one where they have the fashion show with her and Emily at the very end of the episode. So the episode starts because Rory needs to be more involved in school, and then the headmaster kind of scolds Lorelai, and he's like, "You need to be involved too." So she joins the Chilton Booster Club, and then like starts getting involved with the fall fundraiser. So this is a good fall episode as well.
Yeah.
And suggested that they do the fall fashion show at the Independence Inn. And then this is a good also like Luke episode because he's also involved because she coerces him to help her like put the stage up, and lots of good banter in that episode. And then of course we have Emily, the third Gilmore, or the first. I like rewatching this, I have so much more respect and love for Emily than when I first watched it. And while she does fucking annoy me at times because she's so mean to Lorelai at times, like she's also very funny and I love her.
She's so funny. She is on it.
And so anyways, so they so obviously they have the fashion show and they walk down the aisle with like the red suits and they're so cute and they have fun, and then they turn back around.
I always cry when they do that together.
Yeah.
I've been crying anytime Lorelai and Emily have any sort of moment. I am in tears, and I just watched that episode last night, and Lorelai at first is like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But then like she sees how excited her mom, Emily, is getting into it, and she starts smiling, and it's just like so beautiful.
Well, then at the very end of the episode, because it's a good Luke Lorelai episode, he gets very chatty with one of the fundraiser Chilton moms.
The one from Desperate Housewives.
Yes, her. And she goes back into the diner, and I can't remember exactly everything she says, but she's like, she's so jealous. She's so jealous.
She's like, don't date her. Can you just not date her?
Yeah.
Like, She's like, it would just be really awkward for me because I'd have to hear about your dating, and if you could date anyone else, like, and then Luke gets like all like, okay, you cannot tell me who to date, and then he tells her as she's walking out after she's made this big monologue about like, you obviously don't care about our friendship. Looks like I was giving her directions of how to get home.
So yeah, Lorelai shows her cards in that episode.
Yes, it's so much fun. Okay, just a Luke and Lorelai thing from season 1 that is like one of my favorite moments that they had together, when she buys him all the clothes.
Yes,
because he's shopping. She's helping him shop
very
for a
cute.
present for Rachel, his girlfriend's birthday, but they have a sale at Bloomingdale's, so she buys him like a suit and a belt, and like it's just the most fun banter ever as he's trying them on. And he puts on the belt but like misses a loop, so she's like fixing the belt for him when Rachel walks in.
oh yeah.
She's like, it's not what it looks like. And she's like, it looks like you're dressing him. And she's like, it is what it looks like. Great times, great times. Was
Okay.
that the whole episode?
That was the whole episode. Yep.
That was the whole episode. Any other thoughts? Any other Lorelai lines that stood out?
I can't.
She
Yeah,
has
it's hard to.
So many funny lines, and I've been trying to like remember some. This one like made me laugh so hard when Rory is so upset over the Dean breakup, and she's like in bed and doesn't want to get out, and Lorelai jumps on the bed and is like, Rory, wake up, I have something really important to ask you. And she's like, what? And she's like, am I more beautiful today than I was yesterday? Oh my god, it was hilarious. All right, let's see. Do I have a season 2? My next one is I do have one, but like it's number 5, so I guess I won't say it. But they do that Braceburg dinner in like with the sleds and stuff at the end.
That's
You guys
such a
remember
good winter
That's a good
cozy
episode.
episode.
That's I haven't seen it yet, and I didn't look deep into it because it's number 5 and we're only supposed to pick 4, so I won't say it. Let's move to season 3.
I think Shots had that on hers. No, he didn't. Sorry. Okay.
All right. My favorite episode from season 3 is the 24-hour dance-a-thon.
Yep.
It's
have it on mine
called
too.
They Shoot Gilmore's, don't they? Yeah. That's when Rory and Jess finally get together. I felt like I was spoiling myself looking at the descriptions of the episodes because I haven't gotten to them yet. Even though I've seen it like 4 times. Natasha, you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah,
Because you've seen
so-
it more recently?
Yes, I was painting my Taylor Swift skirt when this episode came on, and Alex was downstairs, and Alex really loved Mrs. Maisel. So I wanted him to try to like Gilmore Girls, but there's a lot, and he doesn't necessarily vibe with it. But I was like, this is the best episode of the whole thing. It's so fucking funny. You know why?
I can't hype it up like that.
It's epic and it's iconic. Okay.
It is.
It's another fall episode. So season 2, by the way, they have like 3 or 4 fall episodes, all like boom, 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 boom. And by the way, this one is great, but also episode 8 right after it also is like the next day, and it's still really good too. So
Prime Jess and Rory.
I don't care about them. The what I really cared about was this dance-a-thon and how Lorelai the whole time she's like, oh yes, I'm gonna win this year against Kirk, and then I think that was episode beforehand where they were getting ready for it, and she had like this whole plan of like using this other guy to dance with, and then she ended up like coercing Rory to be her dance mate because the other guy, his wife, was like, what, you're dancing with Lorelai Gilmore, and how beautiful is she? So I think the episode starts out in the morning at like 5 a.m. and everyone's everyone's dressed up. They're
It feels like
walking.
Grease, which is like also something that I love. Sorry.
And
You know
no,
how it feels like
everyone's
Grease?
Yes, and everyone's walking to the. Where did they do it? At the gym somewhere? I don't remember. It was like
Yeah,
a
it
gym.
felt like
Miss
a
Patty's?
gym.
Okay.
It looked like a gym.
I don't think it was Miss Patty's.
No, I think it was the high school gym.
That makes sense. There's like bleachers on the side. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the first thing that's really funny, because it's what takes Lorelai away from Rory during the dance-a-thon, and which starts the whole Dean and Jess thing, is that Sookie tells Lorelai that Jackson wants 4 and 4, which is 4 kids in 4 years. She's like, "What? No!" And she's like, "Sookie's like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to tell him or how to tell him that." And she's like, "No, you don't want to. No, like that's ridiculous. What do you want to do?" And then Sookie messes it all up because she tells Jackson that. During the dance-a-thon, that Lorelai told her that she should not have 4 kids in 4 years, and then they get in a big fight and they leave. But it's just the funnest part is watching everyone dance and keep dancing and talking, and then they all lay on. Oh, that's right. Rory got so mad at Lorelai, and she's like, "Mommy," because they make them do this like running thing at the very end of like at the first like hour.
Oh yeah, in circles. Yeah.
And she's like, "You didn't tell me about this." She's like, "I think I blocked it out last year." Okay, you can finish if you remember.
I don't want to remember everything because it's coming up and I'm so excited for it. But I just know I was at my wit's end with Dean. I was like, "Get the fuck out. We are ready for Jess."
No. I need. Dean was a nice, loving boy. All he wanted, yes, he's fucking boring. We know this, but all he wanted was to be with Rory and please Rory for the whole season. And then she's like getting so annoyed at Jess like being with this random girl, and he's just like, "You know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore."
Wait, you explained that weird. He's getting so annoyed at Jess being with Shane.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
Shane is the girl. I remember because when I rewatched it, I was like, "Oh my god, it's
Shane,
same
duh.
name as Shane from my book."
Yeah. So Lorelai leaves
He's
Rory
only
on the dance floor.
17.
Rory leaves Lorelai on the dance floor to go deal with the Sookie Jackson situation, and then she's like, "Dean, keep dancing with her." And then Rory is like only looking at Jess and Shane on the bleachers and just getting very annoyed and is like talking about how annoying he is. And then Dean's like, "You know what? I'm not doing this anymore." And that's how they break up.
Yeah. It's amazing. Okay, let's take a moment to talk about Dean because rewatching it now, this is the first time that I'm like, wow, Dean is actually really cute. I think I was just so against him that I don't know. I just never found him cute before. And now I was like, okay, he's a very cute boyfriend, especially for like, he doesn't look like he's in high school very soon. Like second season, he looks so tall. And like so attractive in a way that you don't usually see in high school. But 2 things like really got on my nerves about him, and they're very like teenage things, but the way he was talking about it annoys Rory too. The way he was talking about that 50s TV show and how like, what's the big deal that she's making dinner for her family? I think that's so nice. And like, he wasn't understanding that like, that's all a woman was ever portrayed to do. And like, it limited, the way that women see themselves and what they can do. That annoyed me. But then what was more annoying was when she needed a date to the debutante ball. Even before that, when she was like scared to ask him to the dance at Chilton because he might say no and he didn't want to go, I was like, go with your fucking girlfriend to the dance. I mean, like, why would you not go? But then
I think that one was before they were dating, though. Like
they were
just,
like dating enough that he should go. Yeah, just before they said boyfriend girlfriend, but. The one that was worse was when she was coming out to society and like she had to beg him and he kept complaining about like, doing the dancing and wearing a tux, and like she was like, I owe you, we'll watch robots together for the next 2 weeks, and he was like, for the rest of your life. And it just annoys me when boys do things like that. Like, it's your girlfriend, just go with her. You know, she wouldn't say anything about going to any function for you. Like, I just, come on, it's one thing that you're doing because you're with her and you love her. Like, why is this a big deal? But that episode, okay, so this is bringing me to that episode, and I don't know if you guys remember them like taking the dance lessons with Miss Patty, and he was complaining. Do you guys remember this moment?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then Lorelai and Christopher come in, and it's like a really great Lorelai Christopher moment. Like, I'm shipping them in this moment because he's like, do you want to show him how it's done? And Lorelai's like, that depends. Do you have a trust fund? Always check. Funny. But then they do this really cute dance together, and it's really nice. And I do love how well they know each other. And like, Christopher's not a bad guy. It's just obviously we like Luke and Lorelai better. What do you guys
I
think
have
about
my
Christopher?
thoughts on Christopher.
Let me hear.
Are we talking about Christopher right now?
Let's talk about Christopher. He's here. We're talking. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, amidst rewatching,
Because I have only rewatched a little bits of Christopher, so I'm not to the parts that.
so obviously, like, Lorelai wanted no one involved in Rory's life, but he is still involved because I think Lorelai still secretly like really wanted him involved, and there's a lot of years there that he could have been involved in many ways. But like, I think someone in the chat put it here very plainly, and I didn't ever really think about it that way. How he only wants to be around Rory to get to Lorelai. And because it's very apparent, he doesn't even show up at her fucking graduation. And I'm like, what parent doesn't show up at your high school, like your first child's high school graduation?
Only child. Yeah, well,
Only
not
child.
Never mind.
And then it was
He
very
has a 3-year-old.
Yeah, and then it was very apparent when he has a baby with his fiance, and I can't remember her name, Sherry, and is like, there for the birth. Well, not there at the beginning for the birth, and it's like Rory and Lorelai who has to be there, and then finally like he shows up, knight in shining armor, and it's like it's really irritating because Emily and why am I blanking on her dad's name? Richard like romanticized Christopher and like have always wanted Lorelai and Christopher to be together and like be that family unit, and like manipulates it in ways, and is so upset with Lorelai after like at the end of season 2, I think, or is it? Yeah, end of season 2 when like they don't get together because he has to go off and because Sherry's pregnant, and it's just like it only is convenient for him to be a father, and he's not a good guy. He just thinks about himself, and he never had to sacrifice anything, and Lorelai did, and he's just ugh. But when he does come in, he's so fun, and it's like, yes, I do want them together at times, and like I do see it, but like he's never going to be that person that Luke has always been.
Yeah, he's not stable. He's not reliable. Like, and Luke is like the definition of reliable. Like, he'll always be there. He's even more reliable than Lorelai. Like, Lorelai will like run and not be there, and she forgets about their date in like season 1 when they're supposed to paint the Luke's diner, and I felt so bad for him because Christopher comes in. Like, she is easily distracted sometimes, and it's one of her flaws is like running away from things or like missing things because she gets preoccupied with something else. But
one thing that's weird about Christopher, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
Go ahead, Shots.
In the episode that we're introduced to Christopher, the one where he like pulls up on his like motorcycle, isn't it weird that like they didn't even know it was like Rory didn't know that was her father until he took off the helmet? Like, that always
he's literally never
odd.
come. He's never come to Stars Hollow. Like,
he could be more
insane.
involved, but he just chose not to at that point.
Yeah. Well, he was living. I got the impression that he was living in California, and that he had moved back to the East Coast for work. And that's why, but like, yeah, he never flew back to see them. He only talked on the phone for so long and showed up to random stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But,
I love
Sophie said that Luke gives,
Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, Sophie said that Luke gives me Charlie Swan vibes, and he totally does, except he can cook, which is amazing.
Yes. And also Katie said that, Christopher gives big Wickham energy, and he's the villain in Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he does have so much chemistry with Lorelai, which is why I end up like getting swept up in them sometimes for like a short period of time.
And
then
you
I'm
can
like,
see
no,
how
no,
Lorelai does too.
Yeah, yeah. Because like he has that same personality that she does in terms of like the quick banter, and they have the same taste in music, except like some things. And it's just, he's a lot like her. He comes from her world, and he's the only one that her parents have ever approved of. So like she has that bit of her in her head that I'm sure like wants to live up to what her parents like expected for her. And it's just so sad how they treat every other love interest of hers. All right.
Shots.
Well, shots. Do you have a season 3?
You do.
Okay, yeah, the season 3 finale, I think it is, which is like Rory's high school graduation episode.
I just watched this
it's
last
called
night.
Those Are Strings, Pinocchio. Yeah, it's like it's not a great episode, I guess, because like not a lot happens. But to me, like whenever she gives her graduation speech, her valedictorian speech, I always
love
tear
it.
up.
So
sweet.
I
Yeah.
was
I
full
always
sobbing
cry.
last night.
Yes.
It's so masterfully done, because it's like the Lorelai, like obviously Rory talks about her grandparents, and then and then she talks about Lorelai, and then Suki are like, we're not gonna cry, and then Jackson, and then she'd look over, Jackson and Luke are like full crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Suki and Lorelai are like, we're not gonna blubber, and Luke is like, I'm blubbering, y'all are freaks.
I just want to quickly, before we get too far from the Christopher introduction we were just talking about, Nicole just like stated what Christopher's opening line is, nice shirt, take it off. And Nicole has like a vomit emoji next to that opening line. Like, yeah, what the fuck was that? Nice shirt, take it off. And she's like, huh? Christopher? Gross. All right. Sorry. Back to the valedictorian speech. Go ahead, Jots.
Yeah, it's a really nice speech, and it's like such a she thanks everyone that's involved in her high school journey. And then it's also the episode where we find out that Rory makes the deal with Emily and Richard to get money for Yale and to keep doing the Friday night dinners. And I like that too, because like that's obviously such an important part of the show.
Yeah.
And it's also the one where I think they
get the inn.
Lorelai and Suki get the inn and the funding for the inn.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
It's so fun, that whole, because it all happens at the very end. Like I don't remember much about like it leading up. I did note that Lorelai made Rory's dress, and it's just so me. Graduation, and that the whole point. So there's a lot of fun hijinks in this episode, because like Luke and Jackson are talking about the Chilton School building, and talking about like how much it is to insure, and then Suki and Emily and Lorelai are talking about something important, and then Luke leans over, he's like, "Hey Richard, how much is it to insure?" And it's just like such dad energy. And then Suki keeps getting up to take pictures like right in front of everyone in the aisle, and then she's like, I'm sorry, I'm really not like this, but today I am." She just keeps hitting the people in front of her, and then Lorelai sticks her tongue out at Rory, and Emily's like, "Lorelai, how many times are you gonna do that?" And she's like, "About 6." And that the what Emily says reminds me of my mother so much. Like being prim and proper. So I love that.
It's all it's just so sweet too, just how much of the town really cares about her and wants to be there for her graduation. Like the fact that Luke is there and Suki and Jackson and like just all these people that aren't her immediate family just want to be there and want to support her so much is always so heartwarming. Like I've always found that so like I always tear up. Because it's just seeing them all there.
Another thing in the episode is that it's like when Paris and Rory are in line to get their diplomas, Paris says the thing about like, oh, there's like a statistic about how high school valedictorians don't end up doing a lot of great things, and then when you watch the revival, you're like, oh, she wasn't that far off. And also, like, when I don't remember what exactly she says, but when Paris goes to get her diploma and she shakes hands with the headmaster, she says something like "no hard feelings," and I think that's really funny.
Like Paris is so annoying, but she has so many great like one-liners.
She does. I think Katie says when my sister graduated high school, I dragged her to the front stairs and did the Lorelai line where she says, "See, not so scary anymore." And because Lorelai and Rory take a moment and she's like, "Let's carve like our names or initials into one of the things." And then Rory's like, "No, don't do that. It's like 400 years old. No, don't do that. It's from Charles Darwin," or something like that.
Natasha, do you have another favorite episode? I think you're up, right?
Yes. My next one would be season 5. Does someone have something from season 4, maybe?
I think I have a season 4. I do. Okay. My season 4 one, I think, is season 4, episode 22. It is my favorite episode of all time. It is when we are opening up the Firefly for the first time, and Luke and Lorelai know that they like each other and that they're like gonna go on a date. Like I haven't watched this one in a while because I wanted to watch it in order and like have the payoff, but I will never forget all of the amazing physical humor that Lorelai is doing in this episode. Like there's this moment where they're replacing the doors, like they're putting in the doors at the inn, and some guy's carrying it and Lorelai turns around and like runs right into the door because she's like so giddy about Luke she can't concentrate on anything, and she runs into so much shit, and it's just so real. Like that's what happens. And her and Luke are just like being so weird, but they're like so excited at the same time. It's adorable. And it's like the first night at the inn. And so we're like breaking in all the stuff, and it's just so much fun. And everyone's there. Like her parents are there staying. And I am so excited to get to it. It's the first thing I think about when I think about Gilmore Girls is like her and Luke finally getting together, or like acknowledging that they're gonna get together at the end of season 4.
The episode
She
before
follows
that.
the
on my
diner
list
too.
too.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Shots, go ahead, say
I
that.
have that one on my list too. Sorry. I have that one on my list too, and it's like when they finally kiss at the end of it. It's so cute, and it's like finally. And right after Kirk runs into the, into
Oh
the
yeah, like the sleepwalking random shit.
night terrors.
I was gonna put that one on mine, but I you guys both had it. So the episode before that one's actually really good too, because it's the wedding of his sister and
Luke and Waltz.
And they also have their moments at the wedding as well.
Yes. So okay, then let's do your season 5 one.
Okay, so season 5. So this is Lorelai and Luke's first date, and I don't really know what else happens in it because I've seen all these little clips now a million times on TikTok this month, and so it's the first time that they have their date, and they're sitting at the restaurant. And I think the episode is mainly about like Luke and like going into Luke's life, and he takes her to this one of his favorite restaurants, and it's that point where he reveals, and because she's like, I don't really remember like when we first met. Like, do you remember where we first met? And then he takes her through every little detail of how they first met and how he's like, this annoying woman comes into Luke's and starts asking for coffee and won't leave me alone. And then she asked me, when's my birthday? And then finds my horoscope and writes under my horoscope that today you will meet an annoying woman, so please get her coffee. And then he reveals that he's kept this same horoscope in his wallet for 8 years from the day that they first met. And he tells Lorelai, and he's like, I'm in. I'm all in. And it's just like heart flutterings. And this is actually, they sleep together that first episode, and then she walks downstairs in his clothes, and the diner is open, and I think they have a town meeting about them being together.
They do. It's very funny and so cute.
I can't wait.
I cannot wait to get to these episodes. But I'm gonna revel in my. I was just watching the episode where they have a town meeting about Jess, and everyone's like, "He did this, he did that," and Lorelai's in the back, and she's like, "I heard he controls the weather, and he wrote the screenplay for Glitter." It's so funny. But yeah, they gang up on Luke about Jess, and Luke is just like, fuck off. I do so much for this town. Let me deal with this.
Some of my favorite parts of the show is when Luke is so reactive to something.
I know.
And Lorelai and Rory are sitting there like, oh, like they're usually eating something like popcorn or something. I just watched the episode where they come back from Europe, and he's so fucking mad at Taylor and like throwing candy up in the air, and they're just sitting there eating their biscotti, watching it go down. It's very funny because it's very similar. They're both quite childish in different ways.
When they get mad,
he in his rage, and she when she wants something, or he's like trying to be manipulative.
There's this one I literally just watched. They were sitting at a table watching him get mad at Taylor about something he wanted Luke to do, and he was like, the members of the FIA and the TIB and the Didity are going to be very upset, and Luke just goes FINE like after he like says it's very funny. But yeah, that's classic Taylor fighting with Luke like every other episode about some random shit.
There's also an episode where Luke like buys a building just so that he'd be Taylor's landlord, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yep. All right, who's next here? Who just went?
I just went with episode 7 of 5.
Okay. So it's my turn. Okay. I have season 5, episode 13, Wedding Bell Blues is one of my favorites. This is where Richard and Emily renew their vows. And this is when Rory and Logan hook up in the room off the side of like the reception hall where they're having this party, and things finally get like going kind of with them. They're like weirdly unofficial for a long time, but I love the courtship, the random sporadic courtship of Logan and Rory.
I don't think anyone. Why didn't any one of us put the umbrella episode on our list? Is it just because it's a given?
Because everyone talks about Omnia Paratus.
Yes, I know.
It's a good episode, but all the other ones are better.
Are better. Yeah, same.
I agree too.
Like that's the start of like coolness, but it's not the best.
Well, I haven't rewatched Gilmore Girls since watching the new stuff, and I used to love Logan. And now I think he's slimy and gross. Like after watching
I don't think so. I think when you get to the end, you'll kind of understand though. Like Rory fucks him up. Like he used to like have a lot of trouble with commitment, and then he fully commits to Rory and fully falls for her, and then he proposes and she says no. And I think that really messes with his head, and he needs a lot of therapy, and he has not had it. And it really messes. I mean, Rory's already like kind of all over the place with her love life because I think of how she's watched Lorelai throughout the years kind of deal with these things in the wrong ways. But I think that really kind of from that point on, she doesn't really commit to things either, it feels like.
Yeah.
You know, she's morally gray. And I felt really bad for Logan because he went through this amazing character arc, you know?
That's true.
And this was him coming like all the way around. He's like, I want to be with you. Like, I want to make this full commitment when he was never commit to anything before. And Rory was like, no, because I understand why. She wanted to like be free and have her career. But at the same time, he was almost willing to do like, it felt like he would be willing to do whatever to try to make it work, even though he wanted her to move. I think he wanted her to move with him to California. But I bet like he would have been down to try to make things work. And she was just like, sorry.
Yeah. I guess you're right.
But
okay.
he's still so entitled though. Like I think he grows in that sense, like in the he's a better like he's a better boyfriend.
Yeah.
But he's still very like
he's still got issues.
Yeah, which are not so resolved by the end of it. Like I think towards the end he just blows steam. He like just leaves without saying anything and goes to Vegas and like gambles and stuff. And it's like I don't know.
He's still got stuff to work on.
He's still a rich boy. Yeah.
He's just come very far from like the annoying rich boy in the beginning.
Very true.
Like Katie says he's her Christopher, which I think
Oh yeah.
He is.
Wow.
He is. But I do like him better than Christopher.
Same.
Yeah.
All right. Jess is her Luke, and they still need their own series where they get together. Okay, what do we have left, Shots?
Shots and I have the same one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it because I love this one too, and I saw that you had it down, so I didn't put it down.
Shots, why don't you go for it?
Okay, it's in season 6, episode 13. It's called Friday Night's All Right for Fighting. It's after they have their whole arguments. Friday night dinners stop because Christopher pays for college, and then they finally Rory and Lorelai go back to Richard and Emily's house for dinner, and then they start talking about the whole paying the tuition issue, and then it's like a montage of like all these fights of like all the permutations of the people.
So good.
And they laugh, they cry, they yell. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. And it's great.
It's such a fantastic sequence. Like we'll cut into fights and then like cut to another area where they're talking about something else. And it's just, again, this is such a big arc moment for the family because before they were very repressed and would not share anything or talk things through. They would avoid it and it would build up. And they're finally just like spilling all their feelings and not running away and not leaving and stepping away and not wanting to talk about it. Because so often Emily does it. They all do it. They're like, I don't want to talk about this, and just like leave. Like even in the episode I just watched when they go to Harvard, Rory's like, let's talk about Max. And she's like, no, Rory, we're going to sleep. Like, and she just refuses to discuss things that are bothering her. And it's just, I cry watching this fighting episode.
It's finally like the time where this family can be messy because, Emily has not allowed, that's why Lorelai wanted to get away from her because Lorelai, has a baby and it's messy and it's not anything that Emily thought like she wanted for her daughter. And, Lorelai kept Rory away from her grandparents for so long because, she was afraid of what they would do to her or afraid of that like very plain hoity-toity
like the
lifestyle
mold that they want to force everyone into. Like they don't bend.
and it's like
Yeah.
the time where they're airing out literally all of their grievances. And it also comes right after, you know, Rory moves in with Richard and Emily too. Ugh, I hate that time.
Okay. Amy just brought up another episode that I love so much too. She said, I love the one where Rory does the DAR 40s party and the way that Emily and Richard learn the truth about the Huntsbergers. I always bawl during this episode when this is after Mr. fucking Huntsberger has said, like, I don't think you have what it takes. And she completely loses her way because she feels like thinks she's wanted to do so badly she won't be able to do anymore. And that's when she like lives with her grandparents, Rory. But they don't believe that when Lorelai tells them that he broke her and said these horrible things to her and made her think that she wasn't good enough to be a journalist, they don't believe that the Huntsbergers actually did that to her. And then they hear it firsthand, I think, when they're like her grandfather's talking to Logan's dad, and the way that they stand up to her, the way that Emily like talks to Mrs. Huntsberger at the table and completely shuts her down is like just like such a wonderful moment.
They talk about that in their fighting sequence too. Like it cuts to them just laughing about what Emily says to her, and then it cuts to them fighting about it again.
Yeah, it's just really beautiful when they stand up for them. They stand up for each other and defend each other. I just also watched the scene where like Christopher's parents come over and meet Rory for the first time, and they're completely like putting down Lorelai and like, you just work at a hotel. Like, is this what you wanted for your life and for your daughter? And like making her feel like shit. And she's right there. And her Richard stands up for her and is like, my daughter's great at what she does. Like, and like, get out of my house. And it's very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any left in our countdown here? Did we hit everything?
Yep.
We did. All right. So I want to take a second to talk about Rory and Lorelai's relationship, because I think our opinions have probably evolved on this throughout the years watching. And yeah, Shots brought this up. Like, do you think it's healthy to be best friends with your mom or parental figure? And like, would any of y'all want that kind of relationship with your child?
Like, I'd obviously want to check out.
Yes, go
ahead.
Okay, I'd obviously like want to be like close with my child, and like the first time I watched the show and I was like in my early teen years, I was like, wow, it's like what a great like mother-daughter relationship. But now that I'm a little older, like it's not the best. Like there should still be some sort of boundaries between that, and you should feel like open enough to talk to your parental figures or your mom or whatever about things that are important to you. But I feel like their relationship, probably also because Lorelai was pretty young when she became a mom, was too much best friends and not enough like. At times, it even felt like Rory was the mom in the relationship, which is
she
also
had to
not the
parent
best for
Lorelai sometimes. Yeah.
So, but like at the same time, Emily and Lorelai's relationship was like too formal and too the opposite. So there should be some sort of balance.
Yeah,
agreed.
What were you gonna say?
My mom really wanted to be my best friend, and I did not, because I was the Rory in that situation where like I was taking care of her, but like in a more toxic way because my mom had a lot of like mental health issues and dealt with addiction, and so I watched the show with her too, because there's a lot of times like where I see them and like I can see like how close I was with my mom, but like also like at a distance because I had to take a step back away. So I wouldn't want that, and I know like I think Katie said it this way, like you can feel like you should be besties with your kids when they're adults, but kids need parents to be parents sometimes. And I'll be the cool aunt. I'll be the cool bestie aunt to my nieces and nephews. Like I'll be the Lorelai aunt. But I think like I think kids need more of a strong hand sometimes.
For sure.
Yeah, it was almost like when Lorelai did try to lay down the law, Rory didn't feel like it was a rule because they're friends. So it's kind of like a suggestion, almost like an advice thing. She would take it because she's so close with her mom that she sees her flaws so clearly too. Like it's that thing where like we don't see our parents as like being flawed and like human until we get old enough to realize that like, oh, they're human, they make mistakes, they don't know everything, you know.
Yeah.
But she knows because they're like best friends that like her mom is just another human, so she like doesn't necessarily know what the best way to do things is, so she won't always follow it. And not that that's always a good thing to follow everything your parents say, but like when you're a kid and they're trying to like set rules and stuff,
Yeah.
it is. So
Amy
I don't know,
says-
like, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I would want to have like I would want a relationship like that kind of resembles it with my kid, but not so intensely that we're like besties when they're like a young teen, you know? Because it's just almost like you're letting them in so much. You're putting so much of your stresses on them in that way.
Yeah.
Like Rory does everything with her and holds every stress so that Lorelai has because they talk about everything so deeply.
Yeah, like when they had financial problems with like the bed bug or not bed bug, termites or something, like
Yeah.
that's something like if that happened to me, I'm sure my parents would have like kept me like hidden from that. Like I wouldn't know that was happening. But if you're a child and you hear something like that could affect you in ways that like shouldn't at that age.
Well, also like Rory puts all like the financial woes on her shoulders because her mom will refuse to ask. So it's always like well, I think Lorelai asked first for Chilton, but then like Rory goes to her grandparents and asks for help so that her mom can buy, you know, the inn, and like all that kind of like Rory ends up fixing a big problem that Lorelai should have and not have burdened Rory with it. I guess she tried to, but I don't know.
Yeah. And it gets like, you know, wishy-washy too because of, I don't know, because Rory's older at that time, because like she wants to take more agency and stuff. And I don't know. It's complicated. Like there are such good pros to having that relationship and I love their relationship. But yeah, the reality of it is that sometimes it does put pressure on Rory. Like, okay, what happened with Max? And Rory has to go to school and then be Max's student right after she basically leaves him at the altar. Like it was right before the wedding that she just decides to run off. Like it's hard than her having to see him every single day. And I really like that she has to do that interview with him and talk things through. Like she says, she has this line where she stops the recording of the interview and says, like, I really wanted you to be my stepdad. And he says, like, I really wanted to be your stepdad. And it's just, it changes the relationship with a teacher that you're going to have for the rest of your high school career.
Yep. I mean, but like I do love watching them. So I think, like you said, reality.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like definitely boundaries should be set. I think it'll be for me personally, it'll be very interesting to see my cousin and her boy because like she had them when she was 20, and to see that happen. But she already has a firm hand, so I don't know.
Boys are also like
Different.
a little different because Rory basically is like a clone, almost like the way she raised her, you know, like on the same pop culture stuff and all the same music. Oh, I want to take a quick second here to like ask you guys if you've kind of seeing them insulting music stuff differently now, because I think I let a lot of it just fly over my head the first time I watched it. They make constant music references and like insult people based on their musical taste, and they're such music snobs, all of them.
Yep.
They're putting down literally every mainstream pop person. Like, they diss Avril Lavigne extensively, like NSYNC, the Backstreet Boys, like Hootie and the Blowfish, the Beatles even. They're like, oh, that person only has the Beatles in their thing. Like, it's just so snobby and so hipster, everything that they like. They even said, like, Alanis Morissette they insulted. I was like, oh, excuse me. Like, if it was today, they'd be insulting Taylor Swift. And I would be like, bitch.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's funny because, like, I shared the same views with my mom on a lot of pop culture stuff, but then I was like, no, I don't think that. They're just my mother. So it's like, Rory's definitely heavily influenced by her mom's opinions.
Yes.
I remember when I saw when they dissed Avril Lavigne the first time I watched it, I was like, is this not cool? Like, I love Avril Lavigne.
Exactly. I thought the same thing. I was like, wait, what? She was like the coolest girl ever when I was in middle school.
Yeah, and the show came out when she was still popular, right? Like, more popular than she is today.
Yes, she was huge. Yeah, Katie said a lot of their character was the not like other girls energy of the 2000s. Yeah, that was like their music taste was like not like other girls. Mm-hmm. Like they liked a lot of like hardcore rock and like all shit like that. Hold on one second.
I think we should talk about what we wished really hard would have played out differently in the show.
Yes, let's go for it. All right. I mean, I think you go first.
My big hot take, it's not a hot take. Jess should not have left the show. No, he should have stayed a main character through it so that we would have been able to see his character arc and just more of him, because he just leaves and then you're like, oh, okay.
Completely agree. Jess had this beautiful slow burn arc and we didn't get to see it fulfilled because every single actor got poached off of Gilmore Girls because their casting people were absolutely phenomenal, because these people would have to memorize these extra long, quick monologues. You had to be top of your game. Mm-hmm. And everyone that went on there, like Dean gets poached for Supernatural, the Adam Brody gets poached for the OC, Tristan
goes for
Chad Michael Murray gets poached for One Tree Hill. And so like all of these setups for these beautiful arcs really never get to fulfill their full circles.
Everyone just leaves.
And it's so sad because they all got their own show because they were so good. Mm-hmm. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Seth Cohen is one of my favorite characters of like the 2000s. Like, I'm glad we got the OC, but we didn't get to see him and Lane. Like, I would have loved that. I fucking hate. Okay, like a storyline I hate is Lane's actual husband on the show.
I
hate his character.
I hate him.
He's so gross and cringy to me. I don't understand why she likes him. Shots, how do you feel about him? I forgot his name.
Zach.
Ugh.
They introduce him as such a like airhead, like he's so stupid, and then I think
know
because Adam Brody left, they like tried to fix his character to be more likable, but I just thought it was very out of the blue. And they have a sweet relationship later on, but it always like bothered me that like Lane and Dave didn't play out more, because Dave was perfect. He was like great. He did passed all of Mrs. Kim's tests. He was not Korean, but he still fit the like cool Korean boy, cool Christian boy thing that they wanted. And I wish we got to see more of Lane and Dave.
I really feel bad for Lane's storyline.
I know.
Because
go
ahead.
One, I just had to say, I love Mrs. Kim, but I do not like what she puts her daughter through, but I think she is hilarious.
Yeah. I felt so bad for Lane as things went along. She really got the short end of the stick because, first of all, Dave left, and then she got a shitty ass love interest. And then they get married, and she immediately gets pregnant. And, like, she gets pregnant with twins. It's just like, it's just one thing on top of the other. She has this horrible husband. They're living in this shitty apartment with roommates, and now they have 2 babies? Like, give her a break.
She was the one character who I really hoped would get out of Stars Hollow, because that seemed to be like her main goal from the start.
Yes.
And the fact that she couldn't is like kind of disappointing.
It's so sad that she's still there. I mean, like, with her not getting to fulfill her band goals, she's just like, I feel really bad for Lane. She had such a hard upbringing with her mom being so hard on her constantly. I know, like, she loved music so much, but, like, let her go on tour with a band and, like, live that life. She's been stuck there. Oh, man. Disappointing. All right. What else would we change? Shots.
April's existence in the show.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Why was she there? I read this thing that said like Amy and Dan knew that they're gonna like replace the writers, so they added that just to create chaos, and so like it's harder for the newer writers when they come on for the next season. But as a viewer, it's like we finally had Luke and Lorelai like going strong. Everything was going great, and then like, ugh, why are you here?
Yeah,
it was nice to see Luke as a dad, but like,
yes. I mean, but he kind of already was basically though. He's been Rory's dad and Jess's dad, like in all these arcs. And my big thing, piggybacking off of what you said, is that like I really wish Luke and Lorelai just freaking got married. Yep. Like we waited long enough. We could have just let them elope and then like have other issues in their relationship, like, but married after so long. Like the fact that they didn't get married, I think it was like June 6th. Weren't they going to get married June 6th? Or they wouldn't set a date. I forget what happened because I haven't gotten there in the rewatch. But like, she's like, let's just elope. And then he doesn't want to just elope, and then she goes and has sex with Christopher and completely blows up their relationship. Like, why did we have to fucking do that? You couldn't give us this after so long. The slowest burn of all time. 4 whole seasons before they kiss.
It's so frustrating. And if the show wouldn't have gotten popular because of streamers, we would have never seen them get married.
Never. Yes. This is the thing. If we didn't have that reboot, like, thank God we had the reboot. The fact that they hadn't even gotten married, it took to the end of the reboot for them to get married. I couldn't even. But I'm glad if we hadn't gotten that, we would have gotten no full circles with the relationships. And this was such a big thread. To not have closure is just so unsatisfying. The way that it ends when they're like finally just getting back together, right? Like they like meet each other in the middle of the maze or something. I was like, this is not good enough. Not good enough.
But also, like, Luke has been waiting so long for this. He's seen Lorelai with so many other men. Like, I refuse to believe that he didn't want to, like, get married the second they started.
I know.
It's just very annoying.
It's so frustrating. Like, the way that this series ends, it's such a good show. And, like, the ending is so unsatisfying. And so, like, that brings me around to, like, my last question here. Like, if we had a reboot, like, if we could have another reboot, would you want it? And I think all of our answers yes. Yes. Like, and the actual reboot, The Year in a Life, I was, like, 50%, like, so excited. And then 50% after I watched it, very disappointed because I feel like 50% of the reboot was nonsense. Yeah. Like, half of it was stuff we always wanted. And then half of it was, like, let's watch this show about Stars Hollow for 30 minutes. That was torture. It was torture for me.
Was that the
musical
one?
I always skip that part when I rewatch. Yeah.
Yes. It's literally 20 minutes. We only get 4 episodes, and they took 20 minutes of nonsense filler in the summer episode, I think it was. I despise that one.
Yeah. It's just the right. What are their names again? The writers.
The writers are Daniel Palladino and Amy Sherman Palladino.
Oh yes, okay. They love to put that stuff on. Like, it was very apparent in the last season of Ms. Maisel too, because there's just so many big, huge numbers and shows that just like last and last and last.
Yeah, when that episode of Mrs. Maisel, I was like, I am gonna pull my hair out if this is the whole episode, because like I was having flashbacks to this stupid summer episode. Like, it wasn't even people from the show. It was like cameos from the Bunheads and stuff, and we don't care. We waited years for this reunion season. And you cannot take 20 minutes and spend it on nothing and expect us to be okay with it.
I'd watch a Kirk musical. Like, that would still add something to it, but the Stars Hollow thing was kind of stupid.
Yeah, it literally hurt me the whole time. I was like, are you kidding? It's still going.
Shots, have you
kidding? It's
rewatched
still going.
the reunion multiple times?
The reboot?
What reunion?
The reboot?
The Year in the Life?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times. I always skip the musical because that's my least favorite part. But I think overall, I think my favorite parts of it are like when it just starts. You could like it's a blank,
Yes.
it's a black screen, and
The
you can hear all
winter.
the audio clips from like the show.
Yes.
And then it ends with I smell snow, and then it starts snowing,
Yes.
and then it's a la la la. That's my favorite scene, and also like Emily's
The end.
redemption arc, I guess, or like when she finally like quits the DAR and she's like, "You guys are stupid," or like
Yeah.
something.
The winter.
something- bullshit. She keeps saying bullshit. Like, oh, this is all
Oh,
bullshit.
yes.
And then-
Yeah. The winter and the fall episode were good. Like the parts with Logan and like the brigade, the death brigade, the life and death brigade, when they come and rescue her. I love that part. Like the musically aspect of that part with the Beatles song was so fun for me. But everything in the middle was fluff. It was just like, how are you giving us fluff in a show where we only have 4 episodes to wrap up all the unresolved shit we left from 6 seasons?
What did you guys think of the ending of the last episode?
Yeah. So I love the circular nature of it, but I hate that like it's the end and
Yeah.
we don't even know who got her pregnant. It could have been the Wookiee, it could have been Logan, and it could have been, wasn't there a third person? They were like setting up for like a Mamma Mia situation.
Her actual boyfriend, the one that she like ignored
Oh yeah,
all.
Paul, that she kept forgetting about, which I hated. Like, how can you make Rory forget about a guy that she's dating? Like, this is ridiculous. And if she is, like, she's gone through some bad character moments that we didn't get to see, and you can't just start us off like that. But I want to see, like, I just want to see their love stories come full circle after we've spent so much time. That is one of their big flaws, their inability to, like, commit and, like, have a stable, like, life that they always kind of yearn for. I guess Rory doesn't, but Lorelai did the whole time, and we didn't get to see it until the fucking Year in the Life.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I was at first. I was a little bit upset about the fact that Rory was pregnant, because I don't love that plot device. But it is very full circle moment. But it's not though, because like
She's not
Lorelai
16.
was young and dumb when she got pregnant.
Yeah.
Rory is a lot older and mature, and it felt convenient.
Well, to me, it felt like we were setting up for an entire new series about Rory trying to find her way in Stars Hollow because she doesn't know what to do with her life. She's like in this complete existential crisis about her career, and she doesn't know who the father is, and she's just at the starting point of a series. We have no resolution for her character. She doesn't have the career she wants. She doesn't have the family she wants. She's like an unknown pregnancy. Like, how can we end with our main character like that?
I think if they ever did it again, I think they should wait and have it be like the next generation, like Rory's child being, Rory, in high school, and then Lorelai being the Emily, and then if Emily's still around, hope and pray that like she would be like the great grandma in that situation, and like Luke and Lorelai being the Richard and Emily. Like I feel like that would be fun to watch, and like Rory still trying to fucking figure out her life.
Yeah.
Hopefully her writing career takes off. She was writing the book at the end of it.
The book. Yeah. Yeah. Like I loved the book. I love the full circle nature of that, but I want to see her like know that she's going to be okay. If this is the end. And I know she's going to be okay, like she has her mom, but like, she's happy.
Yeah. Who Katie has lots of thoughts. Sorry, Katie. Katie says, I also felt like the point of the show was look how Lorelai can still be successful, still successfully raise a child and give her a better life and all the things she never had. And then the pregnancy was like, oops, never mind. She's repeating all her mother's mistakes.
Well, I mean, it's not her mother's mistakes. It's her own existential crisis. It's completely different, but it ends up in the same predicament.
It's also interesting that like Rory in the reboot is the same age that Lorelai is in season 1, and just like where they're at in their lives is so completely different. Because Lorelai, when we see her, she's like a successful manager,
yeah.
And Rory's like living out of boxes that's spread across like 2 continents, and
it's very much millennials versus like our parents who were like married in their 20s and like had their shit together, and we're like 30 and having our existential crisis.
Yeah, I kept thinking, is Lorelai a boomer or is she Gen X?
She's Gen X.
Okay.
I think she's Gen X. I think she was,
because she was,
well, let's see. She was 32 in 2002.
My mom was 40 in 2003. So, yeah.
Yeah, so she's Gen X, I think. She's on the cusp of Gen X and Boomer, but like the way that she's so into pop culture, I bet she'd be like Gen X.
Yeah.
She's an elder Gen X.
Yeah, so she's more like my aunt. My aunt was born in 1970.
So, all right. I think that's going to wrap up our Gilmore Girls thoughts. Is there anything you all want to end on in terms of your thoughts that we didn't cover? Like, did you say your final ships? Your favorite Rory ship?
My favorite ship is Luke and Lorelai. I could care less about Rory and her ships. I'm sorry, I didn't come out the way I wanted it. I never really cared about Rory and her romantic entanglements because I only cared about Luke, because Luke is everything that I want.
Yeah, Luke and Lorelai are definitely the main ship, but I also think Emily and Richard are also very sweet as a couple.
I love Emily and Richard too. There's this one line that sticks with me so much when Richard is in the hospital and Emily goes up to Lorelai and like says that she's trying to talk about how she doesn't depend on one person for everything in her life. Like, she's not a unit. She knows how to row her canoe by herself or something with a canoe. And Emily feels so lost. Like, she's never paddled a canoe by herself. And it's this moment where she's acknowledging that Lorelai has really done a lot of work to be this independent, and she's done it successfully, and she admires that. And it's so sweet, and I always cry. I really love those episodes, and I don't love Richard being in the hospital, but like it ends up bringing together Lorelai and Emily in these ways that we don't see them being vulnerable with each other, and it's always really beautiful.
Yes, I agree.
All right. I don't think we have time for what right now. What do you think, Natasha?
Oh, no, we do not.
No. All right. We're going to move right into Mary Kiss Cliff. All right. Wow. There's so much Gilmore Girls to talk about that like we barely scraped the surface of a few like different topics. But we'll have to have a Gilmore Girls part 2. Let's go into Mary Kiss Cliff here. I put this one together. We've got Max Medina, Christopher, or Logan Huntsberger. What's Christopher's last name? Why can't I remember that? Whatever.
No idea. Okay, I'm going to go.
Who are you going to marry?
I'm going to marry Max Medina. Christopher
Ooh.
Hayden. Yes. I'm going to marry Max Medina.
Interesting.
I am going to kiss. They're like the same person, so I'll probably kiss Christopher, and then I'm going to cliff Logan.
Wow. Logan is so I just like him so much more than Christopher. I would never clip him. I think I'm gonna marry Logan. And I will probably kiss Christopher and cliff Max. And Max is a good guy, but like I'm just not attracted to Max.
Okay. I would probably marry Max as well.
Yes.
But cliff Christopher and kiss Logan. I think Logan would not be great to marry because like he's just still cheating on Rory like 20 years in the future.
So. Yeah. But I'd have to like be his Rory because she's cheating with Rory, not on her.
Well, in the beginning, he first cheated on her.
But they weren't like official yet, so he could get away with it more.
No,
even though
that's
it was
gross.
a douche move. It was douche. It was his big flaw.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but Max Medina, I feel like this is so weird because he is a very man, but he's just, I guess, not toxic enough to be attracted to me on the show. This is terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Terrible. All right, let's roll. Did everyone say their choices? We did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's roll right into chapter chat.
Okay, so we read chapters 28 and 29. Probably gonna get through them pretty quickly because we're already running late. Christine, you want to start us off with chapter 28?
I will. Okay, we start off chapter 28 leaving the Farah's last name mansion.
Archeron.
Fuck. Archeron mansion. And Nesta and Cassian are going at it one last time, and Nesta gives Cassian the finger as they leave, and he assesses her with like this predatory, like, oh, you're hot glance. And Az has taken the adder after he tried to steal away Farah, and they take him to the Court of Nightmares, and they break him in less than an hour. And Farah kind of thinks about the fact that she wouldn't hear anything about this if she was at the spring court because Tamlin would keep it from her. And Rysand's like, you can know as much as you want to know. And she's like, I want to see everything. So he opens up his like mind bubble and lets her see the memory of them torturing the adder. And while we're in this memory, we learn that like people are usually more afraid of Cassian because they think he's like the wilder of the two of them. But Az has this like cold, icy rage that is pretty scary. And Rysand himself still doesn't know exactly like when it developed, if it like was during, I mean, probably during those dark times he spent locked in a stable with his family, but he's never been able to pinpoint like what moment kind of like holds that shift and that trauma, which is interesting. We really don't know much about Az. And we learned that Tamlin has closed all the borders to the spring court since Farah has left. And in response to this memory, Farah's like, okay, I got to write him a letter and just be like, I'm fine. It's cool. Don't come here. Do not come here. I'm not coming back. Don't come here. And she hopes that this is going to stop him from coming after her. But, you know, we don't know where the lengths that Tamlin will go to bring her back when he feels so protective over her. And let's see, Rysand orders Az to shred the adder's wings and break both of his legs and then drop him in the sea off of the coast of Hybern's castle and see if he lives. Pretty savage. But the adder has done much worse. And let's see, Farah wants to go out of the town. Oh, yeah. She's like, I'm sick of sleeping. I want to see the city at night, Rice. Can you show it to me? And he was like, how about dinner? Let's see if you're all talk. If you actually want to go out, let's do it. And Amryn shows up in Farah's room as she's getting ready to go out because apparently they're all going out to dinner, not just her and Rysand. And Farah's like, oh, here's your special amulet that like prevents you from being trapped in the jail. And Amryn's like, oh, you're giving it back? You can keep it. And she's like, don't you want it back? Isn't it like really powerful? And she's like, there's no magic in it. gave it to you because you needed something to believe that you could get out of the jail. Like, what the fuck? This is such bullshit. This had no magic in it. It was just a placebo effect. Son of a bitch. I was so pissed off at Amryn at that moment. I was like, you've got to be shitting me. I completely forgot about that. And then we roll into chapter 29. Natasha?
Like, this whole thing I completely forgot about. A lot of this is wonky in between like the beginning and then the end. Okay, so so the whole court of dreams, it's not just her and Reese, go out to dinner. And again, Feyre is talking about or thinks about how no one is gawking at them, but they definitely have people's respect. Like they are very respectful of them and little intimidated. But the court of dreams are very we go to this restaurant and they're very familiar with the restaurant owner, and the restaurant owner kisses everyone on the cheek except for Amryn. We get a little like kind of view into what happened, like how in this chapter alone, we kind of talk about how Valaris is able to trade, and the owners specifically point out that the spices prices are skyrocketing. I think because like Highburn is not trading or something like that, but how the owners how they also say like they're very happy that they can trade again with the rest of what is the whole block of land called? No.
Oh, Perinthian.
And then the food is so good that Feyre explains it as the food feeling makes her feel awake, and that she now starts to have
whole.
And in whole, yeah. And how now she starts to have the urge to paint again because she sees these people who've worked all day and they're so happy with what she says and how they are enjoying themselves. And then the owner brings Amryn a goblet of blood because she's just sitting there playing with her food.
Can we just take a second to talk about this goblet of blood situation? Like, what the fuck is this? I mean, I'm still not taking off the table like the big theory that ties into the other books of what she is, because we don't know how they eat, but it's so misleading. Like, it really leads us to believe she's some sort of vampire.
Well, like, isn't she like a dragon or something stuck in her body, or I don't know. Is that what it is?
I mean, she could be, but it doesn't. It's not like for surezies, you know. Yeah. I'd have to reread The Court of Wings and Ruin now that I've read the other books.
Because like a lot
it
of
threw
this
me off when I read that. I was like, "Why blood? What?"
Yeah, I know. I was like, "Huh?" Because she could like smell Feyre's soul in the last in a couple chapters ago, which really aligned with a different creature that was like a god. And that's what Amryn is basically described as, not like a dragon. So, I don't know.
In my mind, she's always like a dragon. I don't know. I need to know what else you're thinking here, because a lot of this I just painted as like, oh, this is just Amryn. Like I don't even think too hard into it.
Well,
like it's just.
Do you want me to say it? I don't know. I think.
Maybe don't say it. Okay, never mind. Tell me later.
Yeah.
Okay, so after dinner, Moore wants to go dancing, and Az is like, "Yes, I will go." Like immediately, and Faye was like, "No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go out. Like I just want to be. I go home and like read. My body hurts from training." And then Cassian goes, and then she's like trying to find someone else, to like go home and like not want to go out. And then she looks to Amber, and then Amber like immediately disappears. She doesn't even look at Reese. And then Reese is like, he's like, "Let's just go home." And so, they walk back together, through Valaris, through the streets, and we get a lot of talking. Okay, it's hard to write all this down, so I'm going to try to do my best.
Well, she has asking him if he's been married.
Hold on, I haven't gotten there. You do this all the time. You remember the one thing, and then you bring it up, and it's not the next thing that comes. Okay. first, Reese brings up his sister and that this was her favorite view. We don't really get to hear much about the sister. Okay. And then she's like, well, why don't you just like move your house over here? Or like, why don't you have your house over here? And he's like, well, I wanted to be away from the busyness so that I can go home to like a quiet street. And then she's like, well, why don't you just reorder the city? And he's like, why would I do that? And because she's just so used to Tamlin, doing whatever he wants.
Not thinking about anyone else.
Not thinking about anyone else. And then Feyre asked another question. She asked, she's like, well, something about Amryn. And she's like, well, are you and Amryn together? Like, did you, because obviously she starts connecting the dots.
Date?
Did you ever date? Like, I see you give...
I didn't mention, but Rysand gave her that necklace.
Yeah, so he's like, the necklace that you gave Amryn, and he just starts laughing, and he's like, no, when I was young and dumb, I once asked her, but she laughed at me. And then she's like, oh, well, like why aren't you married yet? And then he goes to explain like he's had many lovers, but marrying him would put a target on their back and their offspring would be hunted. Did you want to add anything else about the marriage part?
Yeah, well, basically that they'd always be in danger from the moment that their offspring was conceived. And now, we're actually seeing repercussions of that going on in the background of Silver Flames. Spoiler alert, she gets pregnant.
Wow, big spoiler.
I feel like that was gonna happen. We knew it when we saw her son in the cave, in the jail, underground.
Yeah, but I didn't realize they talked about marriage in Akamath until right now.
Yeah, I know. I didn't remember this part of this conversation.
Yeah, he doesn't bring up mates or anything like that. Wait, yes, he does, because he talks about his mom earlier. So then we kind of get into like a little backstory about Valaris and how, this is what I was trying to write down before the episode. Okay, so that it used to be like Valaris did not used to be like this, and he did not make Valaris this way. That it was an ancient High Lord that ended up starting a coup to get all of these evil people out. I forget what he calls them, or the other past rulers.
What?
Yeah,
what people?
This was a big part in the chapter.
I remember kind of it. Hold on. But what people are you talking about? Evil people out.
Okay, hold on. I have it up here. So there was a time when the Night Court was a court of nightmares and was ruled from the hewn city long ago. But an ancient High Lord had a different vision, and rather than allowing the world to see his territory vulnerable at the time of change, he sealed the borders and staged a coup, eliminating the worst of the courtiers and predators, building Valaris for the dreamers, establishing trade and peace.
So this really reminds me, so what we're seeing in like the big picture here, like in Silver Flames, we're talking about how each of the courts didn't used to be ruled by their own high fae. It was one kingdom, and there was a high king fae. And they want Rysand to step up and be that because they might need it against like whatever force is coming. It feels like the cauldron is like leading him to that. Mm-hmm. And what the Autumn King that we see in Crescent City is like the king. Yeah. So it's leading me to believe that he was the king of Perinthian and was taken or like gone into like Crescent City world when there was the big war and the rifts were open. And then there wasn't a king and they had to rearrange the structure of their government. And that's when there arose like basically kings of each different area, each different sector of Perinthian. It's all coming together, this history. So it makes it sound like maybe this was during the chaos of like there being no ruler, that all of this evil started to emerge, and then they blocked off this area to build Valaris, this ancient whatever king, high lord.
Yeah, because rumor has it that the ancient High Lord cast his very life's blood upon the stones and river to keep that spell eternal, and to keep them hidden from the rest of the world. So it's like
Yeah.
it's Rhysand's magic keeping them secret, but it's also like this very ancient magic too.
His ancestor.
And that's
Yeah.
why he allows the
It's
Court
very
of Nightmares to continue to protect
as a front.
Valaris as a friend.
Yeah.
So that was a little like tidbits. And then so they keep walking. I think she asks more about like Reese and Cassian and more and their dynamic, and he goes, that's between them and Cassian. I'm not stupid or arrogant enough to get in the middle of it. Okay. And then they stop because she hears this music, and it's the same music that filtered into her cage under the mountain. And she goes, you were the one to send the music. And he goes, because you were breaking and I couldn't find any other way to save you. And then she starts realizing that all of his teasing and taunting and all of that were ways to keep her mentally there because she was breaking.
Yeah, to
so
protect her
much.
mental health. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And
So
then we have the notes.
and then we have the notes
again.
So at night she's reading, and
My
there's
favorite part.
Yes.
there's a paper.
Sex notes. They're sexting.
Sexting. There's a paper that falls out, and it says, I might be ashamed. It's from Rhysand in his writing. I might be a shameless flirt, but at least I don't have a horrible temper. You should come tend to my wounds from your squabble in the snow. I'm bruised all over thanks to you. And then she goes, go lick your wounds and leave me be. And then the paper vanishes and it comes back, and he goes, I'd much rather you licked my wounds for me.
And then she says, where do you want me to lick?
And then he goes, wherever you want to lick me, Feyre. I'd like to start with everywhere, but I can choose if necessary. And then she writes,
insults him.
yeah, and then she writes back, let's hope my licking is better than yours. I remember how horrible you were at it under the mountain.
And he like licked off her tears under the mountain. I was like, excuse me, you were so turned on by that lick. I just read it.
And he's like, I was under
bullshit.
duress. I was under duress. If you want, I'd be more than happy to prove you wrong. I've been told I'm very, very good at licking. And then
Doesn't she throw it in the fire?
she clenches her knees together and writes back, good night. A heartbeat later, it shows up. Try not to moan too loudly when you dream about me. I need my beauty rest. And then she throws in the fire and flips it off.
And then he laughs down the hall.
Yes.
It's a fun time. I forgot all about these notes, and they are
too.
such a highlight of Akamath.
Same. Every time I'm like, it's time now.
Ooh, it's note passing time. Oh my god. Well, that is going to wrap up our show today. Thank you so much, Shots, for being here with us, for supporting the show. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I have a podcast too called Uniquely Original that I host with my college friend. We don't talk about fandom, but we talk about like just being in our 20s and being confused and trying to figure life out.
Aw, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I know. I was asking because she has the equipment. I was like, what? Are you podcasting?
I
Amazing.
think
And
it's just
what about-
mostly our friends that listen to it, but
Oh,
Nice. Well, what about Twitter, Instagram? Where can we find you?
um,
Twitter. No one uses it anymore. Sorry.
I have threads, but I'm at Uniquely Original Podcast on everything, I think.
perfect.
Nice.
And thank you
Well-
for having me again. This was a lot of fun.
Of course. This was so fun. And our podcast is edited by Alex Foles and Jake Needham. And our socials are done by Chloe Laverson. She is killing it on our Instagram and TikTok and Reels. Like, go follow us if you're not already.
We have,
at
like-
Those Working Fangirls.
At Those Freaking Fangirls on Instagram, she just put up Gilmore Girls memes, so you should share them because
Yes.
they're relevant.
Yes. beautiful Gilmore Girls memes. And our music is by Cole Jenkins with vocals by Heather Traska. We post new episodes every single Friday. And you can find us on any of the podcasting apps or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/those four king fangirls for the visual version. We have a video for every single episode if you rather watch. Thank you all so much for hanging with us, and we will see you next week. We're off to go record Fangirl Tea Time. This week, we're going to be talking a little deeper stuff about Gilmore Girls and also just catching up with life stuff. So we'll see you there if you are a patron. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Link to become a patron in the show notes if you're interested.